Jackson, representing Chicago's house scene. He's a global phenomenon, however. He's going to start us off with a 30-minute mix, and then we're going to sit him down and chop it up and hear more about his contributions to house culture, house business, and, of course, the music. So buckle up, stay tuned for another episode of the Vintage House Show. Ready?
When you're ready. When you're ready to shift. Spit it out. Okay.
All right. We definitely warmed up Chicago with a very scintillating house hot mix from DJ G Spot. How do you prefer to be called? Is it DJ G Spot or should we go with George Jackson for the purposes of tonight's interview?
Well, to be honest, I don't know. It's cool either way for me, but as most of the labels like to say, they want me to go by George G Spot Jackson. So it kind of differentiates me from their other George Jacksons out there. So they want me to differentiate myself, so they kind of want me to go with George G Spot Jackson.
There it is, George G Spot Jackson. Hopefully you were able to hear that from our guest tonight, who is with us in studio as George G Spot Jackson. And I know you heard the mix that he delivered, which was definitely scintillating, is the best word I have for it. We're on WNUR 89.3 FM and HD1 Evanston, Chicago. You're tuned in to the Benny Child Show. We're also broadcasting live on Facebook and Twitch.tv, the Benny Child Show. Let me make sure that you can see us here. That's the trick.
Yeah, that's always the trick. Make sure everybody can see.
Hey. I know you can see me, but how about George? Probably not George.
Oh, let me shift off. Yeah, looks pretty. All right. Yeah,
As you can see, there we go. All right. There's the crew. So how about let's make sure we can hear George as the next step. All right, George, give us some levels on your mic.
I like to do the test 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2. Can you guys hear me? Let me know. One way or another, let me know. Okay, I think I can hear myself a little bit too.
All right, so let's get into it.
Yes.
It's your main man Mega sitting down with George G Spot Jackson. See, I got that right. I learned quickly. And tell us a little bit about that set you just laid down for us. There's a little bit of old, new, hot, cold. Talk to us about the mix.
So basically, I always like to play like I play in a club. So I never try to do one of those like radio sets. I like to play a little bit of everything. I like to touch all styles, whether it's gospel house, soulful house, more like R&B edit remixes, Afro. I like to kind of touch every aspect of it. So yeah, I just like to touch everything. So this was exactly what I would do in the club, and hopefully y'all like what y'all heard.
All right, so talk to us about your careers in the club. How did you begin? Where have you been with, residencies and opportunities for the future for our audience to tune in and check you out?
So, we go all the way back to 86. First party was a Mendel party. That's I actually opened for Ron Hardy. I know I got a little gray, so finally I can show my age a little bit. I'm right there in the 50 age range. But yeah,
young man. He's a young man, in other words.
But it's funny because most people think I'm kind of like really young, and they don't think like I've actually touched that age range. You know what I'm saying? That golden era. But yeah, I go all the way back to 86. I got my first pair of turntables when I was 12 in 1984. Went to Caldwell Elementary. I'm an 87th Street kid.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, so we're right in the hood. But yeah, going all the way back, like I said, Mendel.
Is that where you went to high school?
I did go to Mendel High School.
Okay.
Mendel Catholic.
Yeah, you're the mighty Monarch men represent.
Of course. Blue smoke all the way.
I am. I've got honorary Monarch status. I've been granted.
Okay.
I went to St. Francis de Sales.
Oh yeah, you're right there.
Everybody on my block went to Mendel, and many of my boys today are Monarchs. So that's how I earned my status. But you were there a little past the bi-level disco era.
So yeah, I came in 86.
Yeah.
As I kind of got the torch passed to me, like when Nick Nonstop and Disco Diego and Mark Raspberry and Braxton Holmes were leaving.
Yeah.
I was kind of like right there to kind of do my thing and have fun with it. So they really kind of passed it right on to me. And then, it was other DJs as well. My man Wayne Russell, he was there. My man DJ Opium, which his name is Chris, he was there as well. But I was there and I had fun doing it. And then I hooked up with like Marvin Terry. So I was doing like Ascot parties, Bismarck parties, the Hummingbird, the Gentle Persuasion, Sawyers, and all that whole scene in the 80s when I was like a very little kid. Went away to Northern, started doing parties again with Nick and Diego, Mike Fever. We kind of did a lot of stuff, man. Then we had came back home and just kind of toyed around with DJing here and there, and ended up at the Union Hall, the Prop House. My buddy in this whole game, Mickey Calvin, was over at Red Dog when I was over there doing the Prop House. He was doing Red Dog with DJ Lil Jon.
Yeah, good, all good friends of the Vintage House Show here.
Yeah, and then I ended up going. I met Sam Silk, moved to Cleveland, and lived out there for 10 years. Was doing radio with him. Still trying to, even though I was doing more hip hop and R&B, I still was out in Cleveland, like trying to touch house music.
Because Cleveland wasn't quite ready for house music.
I won't say that.
My Cleveland listeners chime in.
Yeah, they definitely wanted house. It was a small sect of people that wanted house. It was a very small sector of the city.
Okay.
So I still touched it every now and again with my guy Daryl Stout. He really kind of helped me kind of break into the house music scene out there. And I was doing parties here and there out there. And when I moved back to Chicago in 2009, I didn't know where I was going, to be honest. And I thought I was going to retire. And
retire from DJing?
That's what I thought. But you know what? Like Mickey Calvin, man, that's my guy. I've been knowing him since '88. We've been running together, doing this music stuff for years. And he was just like, that would be the most insane thing you would ever do. And between him and Vernell Bird, they they were the first two guys to make me get out here and really do my thing.
The Bird's Nest podcast host, Vernell Bird.
Yes.
So you have done the A to Z of DJ geography on tonight's show. I just want to tell you, I mean,
I was just trying to throw it all out there.
Respect to all those that were working with you, that brought you along, that you worked and collaborated with. Tell me, what was the turning point or the pivot point, if you will, where you got into production?
Honestly, by accident. I was literally, this is going to sound crazy, but I was doing like blend mixtapes, right? Like hip hop mixtapes, but I was always trying to make stuff that sounded like house.
Okay.
And just try to force feed like house music into the hip hop culture. And I did this one track called Get It Together. And we're talking about, I did this in like 2006. Was playing around with just, loop samples and a vocal acapella. And a lot of my buddies was like, man, if you could do that, why don't you touch other stuff? And then people were handing me acapellas, and I did this one remix of what was that track? Darn, that's going to really get me. And it actually made a lot of noise too. So I don't know how I'm forgetting. It's it's
late in the evening and
Childish Gambino.
This Is America.
This Is America. I did a remix of This Is America. For some reason, it kind of like made a lot of noise. End up getting in the hands of a lot of other DJs that played it.
Yeah.
And then Louis Vega and Todd Terry remixed it after me, and then mine died. Mine died, but it was okay.
But it had a life. It had a life.
The funny part about that is I went to Amsterdam. I was at
ADE, yeah.
Met Todd Terry, and he was just like, dude, I love what you did with that. We had to do it too. And I was like, you killed my version. He was like, yeah. And we had a good laugh, and he handed me a beer, man. It was a good time.
That's a beautiful story, considering what we sometimes hear in the house community about, stories about either mixes or songs and the like. And so we're about certainly the reality of this genre and all that comes along with it. But we love to hear these stories of camaraderie, of collaboration. Tell us what one of your greatest collaborations has been.
I'm going to say, and it's not even that we necessarily DJ'd a lot of stuff together, but like man, when I went to Amsterdam for the first time, I went out there and I was, like I said, I was toying around DJing. I was promoting. I was doing an event up at the Elbow Room with Vernell, and had Chippy up there. He was just like, hey, man, you going to ADE? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. And he was like, why don't you room with me? And I'm like, all right, cool.
So you're there. Your ticket is punched at that point.
I'm there. Yeah. And I'm following behind him like, hey, man, I'm still, even though I'm not new, I feel like I'm a baby in this game. So as I'm like, kicking it with him, and then Marshall Jefferson steps in, and then like Paul Johnson comes in, and they all kind of realize,
R.I.P.
Yes, R.I.P. Man, he had a lot of great wisdom for me too. And that's another great story. But met him, and I'm kicking it with like First Lady and Hugo, and I meet like Roland Clark, and I meet like all these Joe Smooth, all these people that I've like admired through the years.
Certainly.
I'm finally getting a chance to meet him, and it's all because like Chippy is just like, hey man, come with me, let's do it. What's mine is yours. And that was like the biggest thing. Like that was the biggest collaboration, I think, that kind of set me up for where I'm at now.
Wow. So when I asked the question, I was thinking about in studio production, but you you really took the question in a direction that was really insightful and moving, because what you shared is that someone took you under their wing, someone being Chippy, another friend of the show, and he opened up his network to you, and you plugged right in. And from that, talk about, you said this is where you are today. What does that look like? What has been your recent impact from DJing and producing and remixing, that our audience should know about today?
Well, like right now, and this is like a huge deal to me, and I'm hoping he's actually listening. But I don't know if you guys have ever heard of George Sykes or S3
We have
Gospel.
now.
So Gospel, like he's pretty much like a choir director, music aficionado, music like genius. He actually hit me up out of like nowhere and was like, dude, I like what you do. Like, let's link up and do some work together. And one of the tracks that right before the last record that I played, it was called Gospel House Music.
Yes.
That's one of the tracks that we worked on and will actually be coming out on May 6th. But yeah, I mean, that, man.
Great opportunity to plug it here on the Vintage House Show, an exclusive. We like exclusives.
Yeah. So like
debut.
That was like that, like getting to all the places that I wanted to be, and like meeting all the people and kind of getting to a point where people are trusting my ear.
Yes.
Was big. And he literally said, you know what, I trust your ear. I love what you do. Let's collaborate and really like make a mark. And I mean, he's from Jersey. He didn't have to hit me up, and he could have hit anybody. He knows Louis Vega. He knows, Kenny Dope. He knows Todd Terry. He could have hit all those guys, but he hit me. And I tell him all the time, like, I appreciate everything about him, man. He's a great guy. And I think like that shows that I'm doing something right.
It does show that you're doing some amazing work, and that the pie is really big enough. That's something that people are often challenged by, thinking that things are and opportunities in this genre are very limited. But as we seen, as we've heard in many stories on the show, these opportunities are boundless, and we encourage all the people like yourself who might be listening, who haven't necessarily gotten their shot yet, to stay encouraged and to stay persistent. Right, you got to put in the work. Yes. Which is clearly what you've done. You worked out them decks real good for our opening set there tonight. And then clearly, as you said, you've been doing work that caught the ear of someone who, engaged you to produce what I heard will be a phenomenal release. So what would you like for others? Like, you were pulled along by Chippy at the ADE conference. What would you give to others listening to Vintage House Show tonight?
I mean, to be honest, like, so one of the things, well, it's a few things, but one is I do have an opportunity to get back as being a A&R for Campo Alegre, the label Campo Alegre Production. Also, I've started my own record label, Double M, which is myself and my wife. I won't say it's just me, but my wife Marlo, she should be listening as well.
Hey, Marlo.
And I mean, like, I give that opportunity to say, like, you got music out there, please send it to me. I love getting good music, good new music, and hopefully I can work with it and, push it out there. The other thing is just one piece of advice, and, people may say, dude, you ain't made it that big yet, but one big thing is don't look at Chicago as being the entire pie. The entire pie is this world. And you never know who you're going to be heard by and from where or any of that. So just make sure that you are plugging away, not only in Chicago, but, wherever you can, like, lay groundwork at. Dave Lawrence, when he said what up to me, he's in Florida.
Yep, DJ Dave Lawrence, shout out to you. Thanks for tuning in.
And they plugged me in. I'm part of the Tampa House Heads United camp.
That's dope.
You know, so
Freddie Fire also checked
those
in.
guys, those two guys believed it and was like, dude, we need you to be a part of this thing out here in Tampa. So don't look at Chicago as being the entire piece of the pie. Broaden your horizons, broaden that pie. That's all. I'll leave it at that.
Well, that's great advice, and I am so appreciative that you joined us on another episode. I think you've been on with my co-host, DJ Lori Branch, and along with our executive producer, Lauren Lowry. And so I'm certainly grateful that you circled back for a conversation with your main man, Mega, here. One question I had, there is or was there another George Jackson in house music?
There is. He still is.
And so,
man, look, when I tell you I met him in Miami many years ago because I was in Cleveland. He was killing it here in Chicago.
Okay.
So people are seeing flyers. So they're hitting me up like, you're doing a party at, Zentra? And I'm like, no. You're doing a party here? No. And then, like, I'm hearing from one of my other guys in Houston that, like, he's asking me if I'm doing parties in Chicago. And I'm like, no, I'm here in Cleveland. He is just like, oh, that's right. That's the other George. You guys need to meet. So we end up meeting at Winter Music Conference in Miami, and we've been really good friends. And we laugh about it all the time because people get us mixed up all the time. And they shoot messages to me that's supposed to go to him and vice versa.
Uh-huh.
And it's the great part about it is we don't like take this that serious that people are getting mad or they're gonna pit us against each other. We're really like good friends, and I think that like as long as we kind of keep that soft touch with it,
yes,
we'll be fine. But yeah, it's the other George, man. He's awesome. I mean, he worked with Steve Hurley and CeCe Peniston. CeCe Peniston. So, like, he's an amazing dude, and I really hope that I can just kind of like hold the name, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right,
as high as he is held up.
You got just a little bit of pressure there to to bring it.
That's why I have to do it the George G. Spot Jackson, and it's funny because he's actually doing like the DJ George J.
Jackson. Yes. Okay.
So we really kind of like differentiate that way.
That's good to know. How can we check you out and follow you on social?
Well, I mean, hit me up on my Facebook page. I'm real active on my Facebook page and my Instagram.
Yeah.
Both of them. Let me see. Yeah, both of them are DJ. I won't lie. Facebook is DJ G Spot Chi-Town. Instagram is DJ G Spot. Twitter, but it's DJ G Spot as well. I didn't want to go with the whole George G Spot Jackson with that, with the socials because they were already there.
Yeah, understandable. So besides the release coming out on May 6th, what else do you have coming up that you want the Vintage House audience to know about?
Well, also right now I got another edit remix out. I actually started out with it, Time After Time remix that I played a little bit earlier. It just came out last Friday. And
congrats on that.
Yeah, and it's making its way up TrackSource, so please grab it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Vintage House Show. We like to close with a philosophical question, and if George is open to this, we'd like to ask, if you had been born a member of Joe Jackson's family, do you think you would have still had this musical gift that you have?
Wow. And been a part of that entire clan of like greatness?
Yeah, but not everyone, delivered on that. I'm just saying, but
most of them did.
Indeed, the majority did.
I think I would have been the one to deviate and still be trying to do this DJ thing somehow. I don't know how that works out, but I think somehow like I may have toyed with trying to sing and dance and been like, yeah, that's not going to happen, and then somehow fell into DJing and been playing music this way. But I think in some way, shape, or form, music would have always been a part of my life. It has always been like the biggest part of my life. And I mean, going back to when I was, 5 and, listening to whatever my dad was listening to, becoming the biggest Prince fan ever. Michael Jackson, one of the biggest Michael Jackson fans, even though I'm a bigger Prince fan. But yeah, I mean, somehow I would have always had this music.
The musical fire burning.
Yeah. I would have had to.
Ladies and gentlemen, George G. Spot Jackson on this episode of the Vintage House Show, the only show in the U.S. that is intentional in preserving the history, the business, the culture that is house music, complete with an archive, complete with stories from your favorite icons, pioneers, DJs, remixers, producers, and artists. We're here every Wednesday night. 9 p.m. Central is sometimes when we start, if it's the at-home edition, 10 p.m. on air, WNUR, FM, and HD1, 89.3, Evanston, Chicago. We're going to release the studio to our next DJ. Thanks for tuning in. Your main man, Mega. I'm out with George G. Spot Jackson. Everybody stay safe and well. Peace.
How's it going? All right.